Hi, and welcome to your flow today. I am Laura, and this is a yoga sequence for tight shoulders, tight upper body. So we'll do a lot of stretching, a lot of gentle movements, and then some also active movements so we can feel a little bit better in this upper area. All you will need are a couple of yoga blocks for this class, and that is all. We'll go ahead and get started and take a seat on our mat. Go ahead and cross your legs. Doesn't matter what leg is in front because we are just working on the shoulders today. So we are focusing on the upper body. I'm going to go ahead and start with our fingertips up on our shoulders. So imagine like you have two giant frosted cupcakes on your shoulders and you're trying not to smush those cupcakes. We're going to start just by moving the arms and keeping the torso still. So start with some circular rotations of the shoulders by drawing the elbows up and then bringing them into the midline and then drawing them down. So I'm just moving the shoulders, starting to get some movement within the shoulder girdle. We'll take about 5 in one way, and then we'll reverse the motion. You can take these at your own pace. So don't feel like you need to hurry or rush in any way. When you're ready, go ahead and reverse your circles. Again, for now, we're just keeping the upper body still. With our next movement, we're going to incorporate the upper body and get a little bit more stretch into the upper and mid back. Once you have all of your circles drawn, bring the elbows back out to the side. And from here, we're going to start with that movement involving the upper body. So we're going to start to draw the elbows in. Start with them at the midline. And from here, we're going to start to curl and draw the upper body in, almost like we would in a cat pose. So tucking the tail slightly, allowing the head to drop, maybe chin comes to chest, curling the upper back. And then as you inhale, separate the elbows, bring them wide. Start to lift with the heart center, arch the upper back as you would in your cow pose, and at the same time, draw the elbows up to the sky. And then bring them back towards the midline, making the motion again as we roll through our seated cat-like shape. Inhale, rise up. Lift with the heart center. Allow the head to come back, but make sure to protect the neck. So if it does not feel good allowing the head to fall back, you can keep the neck neutral. Let's take one more of those. Inhaling it up. Exhale and round. Inhale, rise up. Coming back to center. Now starting here with the elbows at the midline, we're going to reverse that motion. So we'll inhale, rise up, lift with the chest, stay grounded in the sit bones. Open the elbows up wide, and then start to curl, tuck the tailbone. Bring the elbows down. Maybe they can touch. Rise up. Use the breath. Feel like you're growing tall on the inhale. Last one. When you're ready, inhale up. Exhale, round. Return back to the midline. Separate the elbows. Go ahead and release the arms down. They're probably a little bit tired just from that movement. We're going to come into a cat and cow pose. Get set up in your tabletop. Coming into your normal alignment in tabletop. We are going to change this up, but I find that it's always helpful just to start where our body knows. We're used to our standard alignments, where we normally are in tabletop with our shoulders over our wrists and our hips over our knees. But now we're going to lengthen out our tabletop, almost like we would in a big child pose stretch. So we're going to extend the arms out a bit wider. If it's too wide, go ahead and bring your hands in a little bit closer to make it more comfortable. And from here, we're going to move into our cat and cow shapes, but explore the range that we have within these movements. So inhale to prepare. Exhale, push back, push into your hands and start to round into the upper back, tucking the tailbone. Maybe you sit the tailbone back a little bit more closely to the heels. On your inhale, we'll start to reach through with the chest. Lift the tailbone as you would in cow pose. And then exhale, curl the tailbone, press down through the shins. Maybe reach back at the same time, pushing into the mat with your hands. This time, inhale through cow. If you want to keep straight arms, go ahead. Maybe explore a bent elbow as you would in your cow pose. Exhale, come to cat. Maybe find some different movement in your cat. Perhaps shifting the hips off to the right or to the left, getting a bigger side body stretch into the opposite arm. There is no standard for cat and cow. We just want to explore what we feel within our own body, and we use the breath to move through the posture and to open. Let's take 2 more of those. And when you feel satisfied, we'll go ahead and walk the hands back and take a seat onto our heels, coming into a hero pose. Again, just focusing on the upper body. We're going to take a clasp of the fingers behind the back. So bringing the fingers behind the back, interlace the fingers behind you. You can have a nice bend in the elbows. I'm going to stay this way just so you can see where we are to get started. But now I'm going to turn to the side so you have a little bit better view on camera. From our clasp grip behind us, if you can't reach your fingers, you could always grab a strap and use the strap as well and hold that between your hands. We're going to take those clasped fingers or the strap and start to draw the hands to the right hip. So they're just resting right here on top of the right hip, and my left arm is pinned down. From here, we're going to take some nice shoulder stretches, and we're going to drop the right ear towards the right shoulder. Just bringing it straight down, slowly. No need to force this or try to make the ear actually touch the shoulder. This should be a gentle stretch. We don't want to irritate any nerves that we have running down through the left shoulder or alongside the neck. Inhale and exhale through the nose. And when you're ready, we're going to keep the arms where they're at, and we're just going to move the head and gaze down towards that right armpit, looking down at the mat, keeping the chin tucked, feeling that stretch shift a little bit more towards the back of the neck, running down the back of the left shoulder. Still moving our breath, expanding the ribs. Slowly allow the knuckles to come behind you, and we're going to move the hands over towards the left hip this time. So pinning the right arm down and in place with our hands over towards the left hip. We're going to drop the left ear down towards the left shoulder. Just allow the head to feel heavy. We're not trying to push it down in any way. The right shoulder is moving away from the right ear. The left ear is maybe getting a little bit heavier towards the left shoulder. When you're ready, we're going to slowly shift where we feel that stretch and start to gaze towards the left armpit, looking down at our mat, tucking the chin slightly. come back to neutral. You can bring the hands back behind you, still with the fingers interlaced. I'm going to turn back to face the front edge of my mat so you can see a little bit more clearly, and we're going to take a deeper shoulder stretch here with the knuckles interlaced. And we're going to start to stretch the fingertips and the knuckles down towards the mat. At the same time, think about lifting the chest up towards the sky for a little bit of a back bend and a shoulder stretch, drawing the shoulder blades together. Maybe reaching the knuckles a little bit more closely towards the mat. Keep breathing. And when you're ready, let's start to tick-tock the knuckles over towards the left, maybe to the outside of the left ankle. And then slowly shift the knuckles to the outside of the right ankle. And when you're ready, release the interlace of the fingers. Maybe give the fingers a little wiggle. You can also give the arms a little shake out as well. Once more, this time we will all turn to face the side of our mat. So facing the long edge of our mat. In hero's pose, we're just going to shift our hips so that they come off the side of that left ankle. So coming into a mermaid posture here. So we're sitting on the outside edge of our left hip. From this position, we're going to place the right fingertips down towards the mat, kind of like a little anchor. And we're going to lift up and overhead with the left arm, stretching out the left side body. Really feeling that all the way from the left pinky down to the left hip. And we're going to spin that left pinky so it faces down towards the mat. You can adjust your right arm, maybe extending out a little bit further if you can lean over towards the side more. Notice I am spinning my chest upwards towards the sky like I'm getting sunshine on the center of my chest. Inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to stay in this side body lean, but we will rotate the chest this time to start to face down towards our mat. Now reaching towards the front end of the room, but looking down. Inhale, open up. We're going to open up the chest, changing the feel of this stretch down the side of the body as we open up and gaze up towards the sky. Exhale. Gaze down, rotating the chest, reaching towards the front of the room. One more, inhale up. And then exhale, gazing down. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and shift that left hand, give the left arm kind of a break. We're going to place the left hand underneath the left shoulder, stabilizing there, and we'll come onto our left shin, extending the right foot out as we would in gate pose so that the sole of the right foot is planted down onto the mat. We're pressing firmly into the outer edge of the right foot. Inhale the right arm up and overhead. Now getting a stretch all the way from the right toes to the right pinky. Spinning that right pinky down to face towards the mat. The right thumb is up. Gazing up towards the sky. Inhale. As you exhale, we just move the upper body again, twisting the chest to face down towards the mat, reaching towards the back of the room with the right hand. Inhale, rotate the chest, gazing up. Really press down and keep active throughout that right leg so you can contain or maintain the stretch. And then exhale, reaching forward. Inhale. Moving the chest, pressing down into the mat with the left hand so that you stay lifted. And then exhale, one more, reaching towards the back of the room. When you're ready, we'll place the right hand down onto the mat, and we're going to shift onto that left hip again. This time we'll stack the knees so that the shins are right on top of each other and they're in line with the long edge of our mat. We're going to come into a prone twist. So we're going to lay down onto our bellies. The knees are kicked off to our right side, and you can stay with the head resting onto the back of the hands like this. Or if you'd like to take it further and get deeper into the shoulder stretch, you'll extend the arms out long at a T shape and come to rest on the right side of the face. I'll try to make space by pressing my hand underneath the couch here. It works for me. We'll hold here on our prone stretch. Moving to an even deeper version of our shoulder stretch, we're going to take the left arm and bend it into about a 90-degree shape, or our cactus shape. We're going to shift our gaze, and we're going to gaze to the right side, or to our right, and then we're going to use the right hand to press into the mat. Start to straighten out the right leg, and then roll off or over towards your left. So we're going to stretch into the front of that left shoulder. This can be a pretty intense pose. If you want to make it not quite as intense, you can keep that right knee bent. Taking the leg behind you is going to place more weight towards the back side of your body, more weight into opening into the front of that left shoulder. When you're ready, we're going to kick the left leg underneath us, and we'll just come onto our belly for a moment and rest in our alligator pose. So we'll have the forehead resting onto the back of the hands, giving the shoulders a little bit of a break. Maybe shift the hips back and forth. Find our breath once more. When you're ready, we're going to place the hands underneath the shoulders and push ourselves up to a seated position onto our heels. So once more returning into hero pose. So our ankles are getting a little bit of a workout. You can see I'm facing the back of my mat, but it doesn't really matter for the next posture which direction we are seated in, because we're going to work on some active movements in our cow face pose. Again, focusing only on the upper body. So in our cow face pose, we're going to have the hands just with fists. And we are not going to actually try to reach for our fingertips or reach for our hands, but we're going to try to make these as active as possible and try to get into the depth of cow face pose without using a strap, by just using our hands and the strength of our shoulders to draw them back, and then the arms together. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to start as we would in our cow face pose by getting set up with the left hand first, bringing the back of the left hand in between the shoulder blades, and then the right hand will come above so that the palm of the right hand would come in between your shoulder blades. So as we are here with just fists, we're trying to reach the shoulders together, the hands down, keeping the right elbow lifted, and so it's not driving the head forward, pressing the right elbow back. And then we're going to move into the opposite of our cow face pose. So now the right hand will be at the bottom, and the back of the right hand will be in between the shoulder blades. The palm of the left will be in between the shoulder blades. And you can wiggle if you need to try to snuggle that arm a little bit more in between the shoulders, but still activating, keeping the elbows pressing away from you and the shoulders down and together. Again, let's try to reverse that. Nice and slow and controlled, of course, recognizing the vast differences that we have from one side to the other. When you're ready, we'll reverse it again. So now the right hand is on the bottom, the left arm is on top. Reverse. Your shoulders are probably feeling a little warm. We've got one more to go. Spiraling the arms in this nice clock-like motion, ending with the right arm, right hand in between the shoulder blades, and the left arm on top. Inhale. And then exhale. Let's relax the arms. I'm going to spin myself back around to face the camera. Still seated in our hero pose, we're going to come into our shoulder stretches on the opposite side. So let's allow the hips to fall off to the outside of the right ankle this time, coming into our mermaid shape on this side. So the knees are just right alongside each other. We're going to lower the left fingertips to the earth and take our side body stretch by reaching the right arm up and over. Spiral the right pinky to face down towards the mat and the right thumb to come up towards the sky. Accentuate that feeling of the chest rotating and opening up towards the sky. Finding our breath. Staying anchored in the right hip. And then slowly we're going to rotate the chest, changing the feeling of this posture. Start to shift and gaze down so that the chest is almost parallel with the mat, reaching towards the back of the room with the right fingertips. Inhale, rotate. Start to feel yourself getting longer from fingertip all the way down through the hip. Exhale, gaze down and reach. Inhale, opening up the chest. Exhale, reach. Very good. From here, we're going to lower the right hand, plant it down so that it's underneath your right shoulder. We'll come into that supported plank or gate pose. So extending the left leg out long this time. The right shin is underneath you. You can have it set back, kind of like a kickstand at a diagonal. I find that much better for balance. Pressing firmly into the left leg so that you feel the outside of the left hip light up, and then also firmly press into the outside of that left foot. Inhale the left arm overhead this time. Pinky towards the earth, thumb up towards the sky. Rotate the chest open. Inhale. And then exhale. We're going to change that gaze. Shift the chest so it's facing down towards the mat, reaching towards the front of the room. Inhale, open. Exhale, move with control. Stay strong within the core. Really just moving the upper body here. Inhale, rotate, open. Exhale, reach. Make it a good one. Try to reach as far as you can. Create some length. Lower the left hand down towards the earth. We'll draw the left foot back in. Sit down onto the right hip, again stacking the knees, placing the shins so that they're parallel with the long edge of your mat. And we'll start to lower down onto our chest for our prone twist. Again, you can keep the hands directly underneath the head. If that feels better on your neck, by all means stay there. Otherwise, coming into a deeper twist and shoulder stretch, we'll extend the arms out long into a T shape. Breathe and hold in your twist. When you're ready, draw the right arm so that it's at a 90-degree angle. I'd have to move my blocks just a little bit. So the right elbow is bent. You'll bring the left hand in just slightly and shift the gaze so that you come to the outside edge of the right side of the face, I should say. And then press into the left hand so that you can shift the body weight towards the back of the mat. Maybe extend the top leg out long and start to shift some of that weight towards the back so that you get a deeper stretch into the front of the right shoulder. Inhale and exhale. Try to relax the face. Some of these more intense postures can cause us to just tighten up and clamp up in other areas that we're not expecting. We need to send the signals, positive messages to our nerve endings that we are in a safe position and we can hold this stretch for a little bit longer. And by that point, then your nerves and your muscles might give up a little bit more and we might find some more depth in our stretch. When you're ready to come out, we're going to kick that right leg underneath us, roll onto our belly. You can pause here in your alligator pose, relaxing the shoulders, maybe shift the hips back from side to side. And then we'll all go ahead and place the hands underneath the shoulders, and we're going to go ahead and come into our tabletop pose, preparing for puppy. Now this will be the pose after we move into this, the next level, we'll use our blocks. So starting in our table pose, because we always want to start with what our body knows, and good alignment is a great place to start. We're going to extend our arms out a bit further, just like we did in those super wide cat and cows we did to start class today. And then for our puppy pose, we'll lower our chest down, maybe the forehead comes down to the mat as well, keeping the hips just about over the knees, making this a passive puppy pose to start with. I'm going to come up onto my chin, mostly because, well, number one, I feel comfortable. My neck does not get bothered by this position, but also because I don't want to be yelling into my mic by having it directly underneath my mouth. And we're going to hold in this passive position of puppy. Breathe. Now, to make this posture more active, instead of just allowing our belly to be soft and just kind of hang out here, we're going to tuck the tailbone, keep pressing into the mat with the forearms into the hands, draw the belly button in, and start to engage through that core. Notice how that slight tuck of the tailbone and that connection through the mat with the hands and the forearms creates a much deeper stretch underneath the armpits and into the shoulders. Keep breathing. We'll hold here in this active version of puppy for 5. Keep the tailbone tucked, still pressing into the tops of the feet. 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, come into your passive version of puppy. Allow the belly to be soft. This time the tailbone points up towards the sky. Maybe you can sink the chest a little bit lower. When you're ready, push back. Maybe take a moment in your child's pose. If you are taking child's pose, allow the arms to come beside you to rest so that shoulders can just take a little break here from all the active movement we've been taking. Go ahead and take a couple of breaths. We're going to come into puppy pose once more, but this time we're going to use our blocks and come into a little bit more depth in the posture by having more space underneath us. When you're ready, grab a hold of your blocks. We'll have them out in front of us, extended further away, just as we would have our hands in puppy pose. And then we're going to place both our hands on top of the blocks, starting again with our passive version of puppy. You may need to adjust your blocks to see what feels best. I like to have the tips of my fingers curled around the front edge of the block, and then my fingers are wide enough to take a hold of the outside edges as well with my pinky and thumb. From here, once you feel comfortable and your forearms also feel supported, you'll start to come into your passive version of puppy pose. Just allow the belly to feel soft, pointing the tailbone up towards the sky. And then notice how the chest has to sink a little bit further. You have a little bit more space because the arms are lifted up off of the mat. You're probably feeling a little more stretch into the upper back. And then from here, we're going to try to make this more active once more by tucking the tailbone, drawing the belly button in. The head should naturally curl. Perhaps the chin coming a little bit more closely towards the chest. Drawing that tailbone in. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release into your passive puppy posture. This is something that I love doing every day. I can do it up against a wall. I can add blocks. I can change the shape of it however it feels however my body feels or what it needs for the time. And now to come out of your puppy pose, do so with care because we have been working pretty active into that shoulder joint. So move slowly and then start to set the blocks away from you. From here, we're going to push back onto our heels and we're going to find our rabbit pose. So for rabbit, I want you to start by placing the hands just slightly in front of the knees. So they're not super far away, they're just in front of the knees. And then we're going to try to keep the hips low to get started and begin just by tucking the chin towards the chest, rounding through the upper back, and start to point the very crown, the flattest part of your head, towards the mat. So we're landing not with the forehead to the mat, but with the very top of the head close to the mat as we can get it. And now when we allow the hips to rise, we should naturally roll onto the very crown, the very flattest part of our head. If you need to adjust, like I feel like I'm a little too close, I'm going to bring my forehead or the top of my head a little further away from my knees. You can stay right here by having the hands next to the knees. This can feel very soothing by just having this light pressure on the top of your head. This is also a nice sensation to get used to if you are very new to headstand and you want to get used to what an inversion would feel like. If you want to go a little bit deeper into your rabbit pose, start to rock the hips back towards the heels. Bring the hands behind you, perhaps taking hold of the ankles with the hands. And then we're going to lift the hips up once more. Make sure that you stay on the crown of the head. You might have to adjust the distance between your head and the knees. And then from here, just by lifting the hips, you can kind of control the stretch you have into the upper back and into the shoulders. And then also the final layer is by using the breath. Taking a deep breath, you should feel the shoulders expand wide. And get a nice, wonderful, amazing stretch throughout the upper body. And just enjoy this soothing posture. When you're ready, go ahead and release your rabbit pose. You can pause in child's, release the hands just next to your body, or maybe palms in front of you. On the next inhale, we'll lift up, kick the ankles out to the side. We'll come onto our backs in bridge pose, starting again with an active version of bridge, and then we'll move into our more passive version. So go ahead and keep a block nearby because you'll want that for the passive version. For your bridge, again, we'll roll down, find ourselves in alignment from our head to our tailbone. Separate the feet out so that they're about hip width distance apart. And then when you're ready, we're going to place the hands down besides the hips, kind of in a low V. Press into the mat and start to peel the spine up off of the mat, lifting the hips up high. And then from this point, we can go ahead and get a deeper stretch by interlacing the fingers underneath the tailbone and then start to walk the shoulders underneath you. So I'm lifting one shoulder off of the mat at a time so that I can draw the shoulder blades together, pressing into the mat, down into the mat with the knuckles. At the same time, I'm also pressing into the mat with the feet and trying to reach the knees towards the front edge of the room. Notice I can still talk quite clearly in my bridge pose. I have space between my chin and my chest. I'm not closing off the front edge of the throat. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. And when you're ready, exhale, release the hands, separate the shoulders. Before you lower down, we're going to grab that block. We're going to place it underneath the tailbone and just lower the tailbone down onto the block for our passive bridge posture. And this is where we are going to settle and close our class for today. Go ahead and find that nice supported shape so that the block is directly underneath the tailbone, not underneath the low back. Allow the palms to face up and keep the arms out nice and wide. Take up space. We'll slowly start to even our breath. If we found our breath kick up at any point, we're going to resume back to a normal pace here as we start to slow down and take the last couple minutes in our practice to enjoy this supported back bend. Feel the sensation into the upper back, connecting into the mat below us. The gentle pressure. Almost like a massaging sensation as we use the breath to expand throughout the upper back. Feeling a nice long neck. Space across the front of the chest. Heaviness in the arms. Support through the sacrum and lower back. When you're ready, you can press into the mat to lift the hips up and remove the block, set it aside, softly lower the hips down towards the earth. We'll pause here, allow the knees to fall together so that the knees are supporting one another and the low back is supported as well, as it will slightly lift up off of the mat. Take your time, start to shift onto your side. Press yourself up, finding your seat at the middle of your mat. Maybe taking a cross-legged position. And together we'll close our practice with an inhale, drawing the arms up, reaching the palms together. Exhale the hands down through heart center with a small tuck of the chin. And gratitude for ourselves and our bodies and each other for showing up today. As always, I hope you have a great day, a great week. Make it a good one. Bye.